Hey,
H-Town, baby. It's going down, baby.
going down, baby. It's going down, baby. In that H. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Freight Trapping Podcast. I'm your host, James Roberts, aka Solo Driver Only in the Truck.
And it's your girl, Tawana Roberts, a.k.a. the Queen of Dispatch.
And I said only in the truck because that's just a handle. I don't like driving teams. That has nothing to do with my marital status because I'm happily married to my lovely co-host, the Queen of Dispatch, Miss Tawana Roberts. And I want to welcome you to another episode of the Freight Trapping Podcast. This week, we're going to be talking safety and compliance. We have a guest with us today. He, for me, when I look at him, he he specializes in driver training. He's a trainer. So I decided that we needed to have a trainer on. You know what I'm saying? We needed to have a trainer on that could tell us a little bit more about vetting drivers and compliance and giving us some more insight on what DOT looks for because he's taking classes and he's went through training uh, as have myself, and we've done uh, training courses on DOT compliance and being prepared for a DOT inspection on the side of the road or in a way station. So we decided to do safety and compliance today, and we're always willing to do safety and compliance because that's one of the things that I, as a driver and as a trainer, I stress is safety because the main thing is the main thing, and the main thing is getting home to your family safe, as well as letting the public that surrounds you get home to your family, to their family safely. So at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to when it comes down to safety. Now the compliance side of it is, FMSCA, being in compliance with them, making sure you do all of your basics and MCSA, being in compliance with all of your basics, which is different categories that your MVR, the points on your record. So we decided to invite one of my big bros. We're co-laborers in the Word of God, and he teaches me a lot, a lot. He's a great man of God, and that's who I love to surround myself with, whether in business, in pleasure, or in the church. So I decided, and I'm glad we both have the same profession because we can talk about it all. We can talk about it all. So without any further ado, um, like I said, this is one of my co-laborers. This is one of my co-laborers in this is one of my co-laborers in the Word. He teaches me, and so at this point, I want to welcome to the Freight Trapping Podcast, Mr. Reggie Wyatt.
Hello, everyone. What's going on, Mr.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Well, sir.
Great. I want to thank you guys for having me on tonight, man.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. I'm glad you took our invitation.
So what do you want to know, Mr. Roberts?
I just want you to get comfortable first. All right, we not finna dive into it like that. No sir. No sir. We
Well,
finna
you know
get
what, man?
comfortable.
You know what, bro? I mean, I really like the topic that you chosen. Stay in your lane
Mhm,
because
mhm.
it is a
I chose that
metaphor.
topic.
Oh, Sister Roberts, great topic. Great topic. Stay in your
Thank
lane.
you.
Stay in your lane because
Come on with it.
it is a good metaphor for life in general, man. If you just stay focused on what's in front of you, you'll be able to
Right.
get to your goals and your objective. You can't be worried about what's happening on the right, what's happening on the left. You have to be
Come
focused
on
on
now.
what's in front of you. And if you do that,
Yes,
you'll find
sir.
yourself getting to your destination faster and safer than
You already
those.
know I said that word. I didn't already hear that word. I ain't tripping though. Come on with it. Because this is a faith-based podcast. And it
Yes,
could be
sir.
no other way. Could be
Yes,
no
sir.
other way. So I want to ask you this real quick. Without, I'm gonna let you do that if you desire to tell, what I'm saying, your location where you work at and all that. That's on you. But I want you to explain to everyone who's listening what it is that you do.
So what I do is I'm a safety instructor for a roll-off company, Fortune 500 company. Since I'm not representing them in an official capacity, I'm not going to mention their
Right,
name. But
right.
if you call me, I'll give it to you. But since I'm not representing them in an official capacity right now, it's a local company that focuses on the energy services within the city of Houston. We're talking about manufacturing, industrial, chemical plants, and so forth. And so we service those industries within the city. And if you know, city of Houston is big in those areas. And so what I
Beautiful.
do is before before once you finish your introduction to human resources, before you get behind the truck, you got to come and see me. And you got to come and see me and deal with me for about 3 to 4 days. And we go through the safety training. And what we focus on is defensive driving in that training. We focus
Mhm.
on basically the culture, the driver psychology that you have to deal with on driving in the city of Houston. We deal with company culture, company brand, and how we deal with the customers that we fisted that our company is going to entrust you, a new driver, with.
Um, I heard you say that they come to you after the hiring process. So
Right.
let me ask you a real quick question, and we don't have to linger on it. Um, After the hiring process, during the hiring process, do they come in and you guys give them a road test before they even say you're hired?
Well, I do not do that generally. Generally, that's with a one of the supervisors, one of the other supervisors.
Okay,
When
okay,
they see me in a classroom setting, and
okay,
then
got you.
after the 3 days of training, I set up an obstacle course and get them to
Got you.
perform the obstacle course before I can give the okay to let them go. Right.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Okay, I got you. Good deal. Good deal. I just wanted to clear that up because you might get somebody say, "Oh, shoot, we can go just get in and get past HR and we good. We ain't gotta do no driving before we even get there." No, 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 no.
No, no, no,
You
no.
got to drive before you even get to him, before you even get
Right.
to the class. So basically, you facilitate the orientation. Uh,
Absolutely.
uh, right. Okay. Okay. So we got all of that out the way. We know what it is you do. You're certified in my eyes. I don't care about nobody else. You're certified. Uh, uh, let's just give us a background real quick, however long you want to take. Give us a background in trucking before we dig into our topic. I mean, your journey up to this
So,
point.
so look, my journey began at a freight company right here
Mm-hmm.
in the city, and I I was breaking out trucks. You know, I was working on the dock, right, and we was making pretty good money, but it wasn't what I needed. You know, I wanted more, right,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure everybody out there want more. So when there's an opportunity, you need to, go for that opportunity. The
Mm-hmm.
only caveat was if you take the opportunity to try your hand at driving with this company, and they would train you, right? They would train you in house. But the only caveat is if you couldn't pass their driving test, then that meant automatic termination.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, do I go for it or do I not? And for this reason, believe it or not, a lot of people who had tenure with that company decided, man, I feel safer over here, so I'm not even going to sign up for it. So I signed up for the opportunity, and I signed up for it because guess what? Opportunities come around every now and then. You have to take advantage of them. I heard a wise man say once that sometimes if you want the fruit, you got to climb out on the limb to get it. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, guess what? You might fall. You might fall out there on that limb. But he said, if you fall, you will
Right.
fall with the fruit in your hand. So whatever fruit
And
that was it the experience, right, of going through that or whatsoever? But guess what? I got the fruit in my hand, but it wasn't that easy. I'm going to tell you right. Well, I never knew how to drive. It was an opportunity. I had no skill set whatsoever for this assignment, right? I didn't know what a stick shift was when I jumped into a truck. I
Wow.
didn't. I didn't have no idea. I was clueless. And I don't know
so basically,
back then when I started my career, James, we had some
mhm.
old Fords that didn't have power steering,
Ooh.
that did not
Oh
have power
wow.
steering, and did not have air conditioning.
So you in the worst of conditions.
The worst of conditions. And
Mhm.
so one of the supervisors took me out for a road test. And I thought I did fairly well, man. But in his eyes, I made one mistake by pulling a little bit too far into traffic to look to my left and to my right. And for that reason, he decided not to give me the opportunity of moving on. And so I'm sitting in the break room, dude, with my head down, wondering if this is it. Am I going to have to look for another job?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, one of the guys, a man that I greatly admire, he's no longer with us today, but I greatly admire this man. He was a manager at our company at that time,
Mhm.
and his name was
Okay.
Joseph Williams. And he
Okay.
came in there, man. He said, they haven't passed you yet. They haven't moved you on yet. And I say, no, man, I don't think I did too well. And he walked into the office, and I'm still sitting at the break room table, looking like a little puppy dog, thinking that I don't got a job. I'm out of here, man. And so he walks out of there with a piece of paper in his hand. And he said, "Come on, come go with me." And he took me back out there on the road, man. And guess what? He gave me another opportunity to take that test over. This time, I did worse than I did with the other guy. And so I said, man, at the end of the day, I was tired. You know what I'm saying? I was tired. I
Right.
said, Joe, I said, hey, bro, let me buy you lunch, man. I appreciate you just giving me the opportunity. I already know what the deal is. I
Yeah.
understand. Let me buy you lunch, and we stopped over there on 225 at that little rib shack over there, and
Yeah.
had
I
a
know.
little yeah. You know what I mean? And had a little lunch, and we came to the yard, and I'm still wondering, man. What I'm gonna do now? I'm thinking about my next move right now.
Right,
And he went
right.
in the office, man. He never said a word to me. You know, he went to the office. He came back. He signed the paper saying approved. He looked me in my eye, shook my hand, and said, all a man needs is a chance.
Mhm.
All a man needs is a chance. And with that chance that Joseph Williams gave me that day,
You
a
ready?
brother, if a brother,
No, one of us.
yes,
Yeah.
sir. I have been driving and teaching driving for over 25 years now.
Wow.
So in other words, he was your ram in the bush.
Yeah, he was my ram in the bush, brother. He definitely was. God had him in the right place at the right time. And I must say, at that particular company, there was
Mm.
not many of us around. He was one of the only guys, right? And
You're
so he
right.
put himself out on a limb for me, and I am grateful, and appreciative for that opportunity.
And I'm gonna say something about that is, and we always on here, we always speaking to those new drivers. We always speaking to those drivers that's on the road in their
Yeah,
trucks, and they don't have. They're looking for something to listen to. They're looking for guidance. They may not even have a mentor, and people don't even realize you need a mentor in this transportation industry.
yes, sir.
If you don't have one, you need one. Everybody has one. So at the end of the day, what he did for you was almost like being that mentor. And so he put his stock that he had built up in that company, he was waiting on you to come through. I could just imagine how long that gentleman said, man, when am I gonna be able to use this stock that I built up in this company? And then here come along Reggie White, and he seen it. And so even though you say you did worse the second time, in my eyes, from the story you just told, he used that stock that he had built up in that company where it wasn't that many of us. He used his stock on you, and it
That's
paid
right.
off 25 years
Absolutely,
later.
absolutely, man.
I just think
Absolutely.
I always tell my wife that in this game, it's about relationships and it's about people you know. And for me, I always try not to burn any bridges in this game because you just never know. So for you telling that story, man, bro, we could sit here and talk about just that for an hour. You know how we
Yeah.
do. But
Yes,
look
sir.
at my wife. Look at my wife. But we're not gonna do that. So, man, 25 years in the game.
That's a blessing.
You're now running orientation as well as you're still in the truck too, right? You still do some moving for them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so at the end of the day, man, you've reached that point. And so I mean, it's not the end, but you've reached a point that 25 years ago, Mr. Williams gave you that opportunity. And I just can imagine that if he was still here with us, how proud he would be to
Yes,
see that stock he put in you rose so high. You get me?
yes, sir.
So what do you do um in the I don't want you to give me all the intricate details, but in the day-to-day of orientation, what do you do? And what are some of the pre-qualifications to be hired as a driver in your particular field, your lane?
Okay. Let me explain that by backing up a little bit, man.
Okay, go ahead, take your time. Take your time,
Let's say
man.
I started out in the freight business, right? And you
Uh-huh.
know as well as I know that after a while the freight business can be a little wear and tear on your body. And
Mhm.
the freight business can also be fickle and seasonal at times. And
Mhm.
so, our company wasn't ready for deregulation and all the competition that brought in. So it caused our company to decline in revenue. Plus, it was starting to be badly ran as a company when the owner passed away. So then the recession hit. Then the recession hit. So I went from begging to get off the clock to begging to stay on the clock, right?
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, if anybody know what I mean, you've been in the industry for a while, you know that trucking can get kind of fickle sometimes. But when that recession hit, man, I said to myself, you know what, I'm a professional driver, and I had to remind myself, man, that I'm a professional driver. I have just as much skill as these other drivers out here on the street is. And so instead of me being a crybaby, coming around the break room table like everybody else and running down the company, talking about this and about that, I had to ask myself, why am I still here? if things are as bad as I'm saying they are, now that's at this particular company. That's not all companies. But at this particular company, I was saying, things are so bad, I got to get out of here, man. And so I was out on route one time and I seen this guy come by in a roll-off truck and pick up, a 40-yard bin. And I mean, he just dropped his cable, winched it up on the inside of his truck, put two clamps on the back, tarped his load. And as he was
wait a minute. Put a pin right there. When you say winched it up from the inside of his truck, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's a winch cable, and you pull it up on the rails of this thing called a hoist. And it just pulls the whole box, almost like a rail car, onto your truck.
Okay, continue.
And so I'm saying that looks so smooth and easy. I say, man, I can do that. I said, I went out there to have a conversation. Now notice now, I'm thinking, Jane, look, I'm thinking about my next move. I'm already thinking about my next move. What am I going to do? What industry am I going to go to? I don't want to be afraid no more, so where am I going? And so I went out there, I said, hey, senor. I said, man, how much do you guys make?
Hey, wait. You say senor. Go ahead, Reggie.
I say, hey, senor, how much do you guys make this? He said, my friend, I make $90,000. I said, what? 90,000? Man, here I am, dude. I'm pulling 53 footers all inside of some of the smallest communities and spaces within the city of Houston, triples and doubles, hooking up triples and doubles and pulling this long box. Now, before that, we used to pull 57s, brother. They had us doing P&D, pickup and delivery within the city of Houston in a 57-foot truck with no power steering.
Wow.
So
you was in it.
Yeah. So I asked Amigo, I say, what? He said, yeah, my friend. He said, front end, make 100,000. I said, what? I'm just going to be honest with you, man. I know a lot of people are in this industry and they do this. They already know about it, but I did not know that they were making this kind of money in this particular field. And, if you're not in with it, you have no idea. And so I started researching companies and I said this. I said, look, I want to be with a Fortune 500 company. I want to be with a company with deep pockets in the event that there is a recession or a downturn in the economy. I want to be somewhere where there's stable work, where I can get myself and my family through those ups and downs in the economy. And so lo and behold, I've started applying to various companies, got hired with the company that I'm at right now. I started 7 months. As soon as I was there 7 months, man, they were in so so much need of drivers. I started training almost 7 months after I started, man, as a behind the wheel instructor, just training some of the new guys that they were bringing in. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the story, bro.
Yeah, and see, the thing about it is, you already know, um, from a spiritual aspect, people always see your palace without seeing your pit. I say that all the time. And your pit was that no power steering, that 50 seat, that 57 footer going around the city of Houston doing P&Ds. And so people always see where you are right now. Well, I'm gonna say I don't want to say people. I'm gonna say young students, young drivers, people who want careers and get into the trucking industry. They see where you are now. Oh, you doing good, man. You're trucking, da 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 da. Bro, it look good now. But if you'd have asked me 15, 20, 25 years ago, do I see myself here? I probably would have said yes. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't have seen myself where I am now. You know what I mean? But because of the fact of, now put it like this here, I wouldn't have known how long it would have took for me to get where I am now. Right?
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying to these young drivers is, or to a new driver, and a new driver could be any age. What I'm saying is, don't jump in this transportation industry thinking that you're supposed to start off in the palace.
Right.
Because whatever you do is a process, right? You got to go through the muck and the mire in order to get beyond the forest, in order to get out. So, with that being said, man, I wanted to know your story. I never knew that part of it, and I'm glad to hear. That's why I laughed so hard. Hey, man, you roll those R's like you supposed like you speaking it, bro. so, Reggie, man, I'm having such a good time already in the conversation, and wife is here to navigate because she knows that we can get whatever. So let's move on to what are do in your lane? Do you need any type of special endorsements?
Well, the best endorsement is the Class A CDL for one, right? Tweak card. Those
Okay,
going to be some of the primary things you need. But I always tell people, never limit yourself. Get
exactly.
every endorsement on that's available for your particular license. The reason why, because see, I don't have to necessarily just do roll off. We have flatbed, we have box, we have pumps, we have tankers, so there's other equipment that you could, be used or utilized on. And the more attractive your driver license and professional skills are, guess what? The more attractive you're going to look to an employer looking to hire you, right? So I would say go for the gusto the first time and then maintain, all those endorsements throughout your career. I do it right now, even though, I don't pull hazmat anymore, but it may come a time where, I have to pull up stakes and move around, right? I don't know, but I'm ready for whatever is coming up.
So you know what? With that being said, for the type of company you have that run all those different kind of lanes, for me, I would, even if I, like you said, even if I didn't have it, I would get it because now I'm more valuable to the company as a driver than I am not having it. So when we get slow or everything kind of starts slowing down in one field, I can move over to the hazmat side. I can move over to and have you ever driven over the road? Have you did anything over the road?
I've done some short hauls, but I never wanted over the road. After a
You
few
didn't have
hours,
to do
of looking at blacktop, I get real sleepy. So I never did that. Plus, I had young kids to think about, and
Right.
I didn't want to leave, 3 kids with their mama, being away from home, uh, for a long period of time. Now I understand some people have to do that, but this was
Gotta
just
do what you
a
gotta do. Right.
decision that I had made personally that I was going to be local. Now I wish I would have gotten uh, in this type of industry a lot sooner
Right.
because the money was a lot better and the benefits are a lot better, man. So
Right.
it's been a blessing.
Yeah, me and one of my coworkers, well, two of us, well, what we were doing on Friday, we were talking about that. And for me, I had to go through that whole process. I had to go through the whole process of going from running containers over to running flatbed and doing some driving and doing whatever it took. But I had to be the one to be on the road. As you know, I did over the road for 10, 12 years. And for me, I wouldn't get that experience up for the world. But if I didn't have to go through it, I wouldn't be mad either. Because if I could have did if I could have did 15, 20 years at the company I'm at now, I would have took that over going over the road. So but at the end of the day, some of those guys have never experienced that. So
Right.
when we have opportunities to, you know, do a long run, or they need, anybody want to run the road, this weekend or for the week or whatever, guess what? I don't mind. I do it because I'm used to, for me, it'll be like, okay, revisiting old times, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I view myself not being more important than them, but I'm glad I have that experience because now my supervisor or my manager can see my work ethic as being different from them. And
Right.
so now I may not be more important than the next man, but I may be a little bit more valuable because they know that they can count on me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Uh, it's a skill set. It's another skill set that you have. Everybody's not familiar with, how to travel over the road, what exits to take, how to maneuver down this particular path or that path, what to look
Mhm.
for, what not to look for. It's a
Mhm.
part of your skill set. And then having that makes you more valuable because if I have a local guy who doesn't want to do long runs when needed, guess what? He's not as valuable as you are right now. So if
Mhm.
if and I know this firsthand, man, that when employers are looking, because I'm sitting in the room with these guys, these hiring managers, right? I know
Mhm.
they're looking for the person who can do the most and who's gonna cry the less, right? who don't mind, who don't mind getting out there and making it happen, right?
Right. Right. And and see, for me, that also goes because my wife, she deals with a lot of owner operators. That also goes over into the owner operator field and those independent trucking companies. It's the same thing. No matter who you're working for, it's the same thing. If I got a driver that I know gonna go that I know is going to go get it and have no complaints about it, by the time he decide, hey man, I need this off, I have no problem giving it to him. Which leads me to my next question to you is what are some driver qualities that you look for when you're in orientation and you have a driver in there and you're kind of you're kind of using your spirit of discernment
Right.
because sometimes you can look good on paper, but in person you're a wreck. So, what are
Right.
some driver qualities that you look for while in orientation?
Well, let me tell you what I'm not looking for. I'm not looking for how long you've been driving, how long you had your CDL, how much experience you got. Well, the first thing I'm
Right,
looking for is are you teachable? Are
Mhm.
right,
you teachable? Are
right,
you willing to accept change? Right? because I don't care where you come from. When you come into this particular company, you're coming into a new culture. You're coming into a new set of SOPs, standard operating procedures that this company wants you to follow. I don't care how y'all did it at your last company. You need to be concerned about how we're doing it at this particular company, because this is what you're going to be judged on, and this is what you're going to be graded by, is how you perform under our SOPs, not where you come from, right? And it really doesn't matter how much experience you have. One thing I saw when I was with my other company is sometimes the guys with the most tenure, 30 years, 40 years, they got so complacent in what they were doing. They were the ones having most of the accidents and the incidents, with damaging, having accidents. So it doesn't matter. Are you teachable? And are you willing to change? Are the two characteristics that I'm looking for primarily.
Good deal. That's Reggie. That is some good knowledge. And that's some good information to know, because a lot of guys, and I've been guilty of it. You know what I mean? When at a couple of jobs where you go in and you go from one job because the next job pays better, but it's in the same field. And you go in and sometimes you thinking, oh, okay, I got it. I know it. I've done this before. But then, like you say, you're looking for that guy that's pretty much a clean slate, a white sheet of paper that you can pretty much write your standard of procedures on, instead of him coming in and it's already something on the white sheet of paper that you're going to have to them to erase and start over, which we know most people can't erase out of their memories what they already learned. So at the end of the day, that's very important for new drivers or young drivers coming into a new company. You have to be a white sheet of paper so that you can go in and be teachable.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, absolutely. But primarily, I mean, having a driver, fresh out of school would be ideal, because you can pass on that information easier. But experience does matter. I don't care, I don't care how clean you are, whatever. Your experience goes a long way. That's like a learning curve that you can't make up for, right? Experience. But if you can be somebody who's teachable to what this company is doing, and you can transition your experience and be teachable and learn this culture over here, then guess what? That's like a double A right there, man. That's a double check mark right there. I'm ready to turn you over to the operating team right now to get you behind the wheel, because you're showing me that, you know what, man, I'm embracing all this stuff. And you can get a feel for that when you're dealing with people in class. We're going over some basic, defensive driver training and stuff like that. Are you engaged in, the material that we're teaching? Or are you not enough, right? Do you feel like this ain't important to you? This is not relevant to you because you've been here, you've done it all and all that. That's it, that kind of stuff. And you get a few of those in your class every now and then. But for the most part, most of the guys that come through my class are, very receptive, very engaged, and because I like trying to open things up to a mutual learning experience, whereby, I don't think that my experience is the end all, right? You have experience too. So whatever you can add to discussion and it's in line with the material, hey, we can talk about it all day long.
Let me ask you a question, because you said something very interesting about really wanting those guys that come straight out of driving school. So with that being said, do your company offer or have a relationship, should I say, with, let's say the HCCs, the Lone Stars, because they have a CDL training program. Do you guys have a relationship with job placement? And if so, if you do, working with those particular organizations, would your company work with other organizations in the city that offer high-level CDL training as well?
Now, I'm not quite sure because we do a lot of hiring through recruiters. And so
Okay.
what we're definitely looking for is some driving experience, right? So, and I know a lot of new drivers don't have that, but I don't want to discourage anybody from trying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You never know.
Right.
You never know. It's been some people that have come in with a fresh CDL that I've spent time, nurturing and training and getting them ready to be released on their own. So, but most of that we do from recruiting. It's all about, you as a driver with a CDL, just reaching for the stars, trying to, get the best opportunities that you can, and then wait for an opportunity. Sometimes you may have to take something lesser than what you want to gain experience. But once you gain the experience, guess what? It's wide open. And unfortunately, since this is kind of like a specialty industry, it's not difficult to learn, but it's a specialty industry roll-off. It's not like there's not that I know of at least, a roll-off school, a front-end school, or what so forth, something like tankers or something like that. We don't have that. So you basically learn these at different companies that do this type of work.
Why are you laughing? Well, why are you laughing, James?
Because
I know what he's gonna tell you.
You know we got Roberts Transportation Logistics Academy, right?
No, I didn't know that. But hey, we can definitely start training some guys for it.
Hey, look, but
Yes,
at the academy, because of the pandemic, it slowed us down all the way. But at the academy, because I have that experience, and see that's what I mean by I wouldn't trade what I've been through, my process, for nothing in the world. Because right now, where I sit, where I'm standing right now, God put knowledge in me from going through all of that to be able to come to y'all or have a driver come out of my academy that takes my phase 5 or phase 4 or whatever, that's taking the phase 4, let's just say phase 4 driver training. And phase 4 is roll-offs, dump trucks, PTOs. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'll pour it into that driver everything that I know about handling a roll-off.
Right.
Now he has knowledge of it. But what I always tell them, what we just talked about a few minutes ago, just because you don't know everything.
Right.
So go into whatever job you get as that white sheet of paper.
Right.
Because even though they know they want to be able to teach you their way. Right. You know what I mean? But that's what we're geared toward, is what you just said. There's not a place that you guys are associated with that gives that type of training, so you have to train them. That's the purpose of our academy, is to take that away, to be a liaison, to say, hey, even though you haven't done it for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, you have the training from this academy. And that's what I want our academy to be reputable about, is putting out good drivers with good knowledge of the area that they're going into.
Absolutely.
Can you feel me on that?
Yeah, you said something, man, because just because you know don't make you a pro, right? Because there are going to be some situations, some circumstances that could arise that you've never experienced before. Just
Woo,
learn.
Reggie.
It's on the job experience that I'm telling you, man. I was in a chemical plant in a construction area, and I'm trying to get this load off my roll off, and I never did it before with the ground being as uneven as it was in the spot that they wanted me to drop this load or this pan, this box.
Right.
And so the sucker came off the rails, man. And I'm in
Oh
a
yeah.
very I'm in a very highly tense environment, construction
Right.
environment inside of one of these chemical plants, and there are
Right.
big wigs and crew leaders walking all around. I'm panicking. I'm sweating, man. I'm like, what do I do? Right? I'm in a situation that I wasn't trained for.
Oh, talk
I'm
about
in a
it.
situation that I wasn't trained for, right? So now I got to kind of figure this thing out on my own without
Right.
causing, a loud noise and raising
Bring
attention
attention.
to what's going on, right? And so, you don't know what you're going to experience in any given situation and what you got to watch out for, man.
Right.
So there's some things going to come up. I don't care how well you've been trained in whatever industry. There's something going to come up that you not quite ready for.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just want to come loud and clear. Let me ask you another quick question. Because I have a freight dispatching business. I've been doing that for the last 3 years. And now, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I started teaching it, teaching other individuals how to start their own independent freight dispatching business from the privacy of their home. And one of the things that I find, and from just different people I meet, they have a background in auditing. Well, I have several clients that I've worked with that, and I know for a fact that some DOT investigators who have retired have went on to start their own safety and compliance businesses, right? So basically, the individuals that I train that are interested in that, I've kind of helped them a little bit with some of the things that I experienced working with a carrier who went through his first audit within the first 6 to 8 months of being in service. As far as that's concerned, auditing, how often do you all experience that? And if any, because I know it's a well-established company at this point, and I know a lot of times when they're newer companies, they get audited quite frequent. But if you have dealt with it in the past, can you speak to it a little bit on a couple of the most key components of being organized when it comes down to being audited by DOT?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on the amount of infractions that a company has. The more you get, the more you're going to be audited. So I think you want to try to keep those things at a minimum. And so that's why we preach, pre-trip inspections on our vehicles and making sure everything, vehicles are, in good operating condition before we pull them out on the street, because, a company can lose its license to haul based on, so many violations. And so
Right.
you definitely want to keep a check on that, because guess what? That means everybody's job is at risk now. And so it should
Right.
be a very high priority for any owner operator or for any company who's out there hauling, because it's very important. It puts yourself at risk. It could be, right? You're taking a vehicle out on the road that's not road ready. It's putting the public at risk. And so now you're opening the company also up to lawsuits as well as violations. And so I know auditing is very crucial, and you want to be ready for it. You want to make sure you have, proper bookkeeping and all that good stuff. And I know at one point in time we were like right at the borderline from, getting our license pulled, man. And so we really had to do some things to kind of turn that around. So it's
Okay.
very important, very needed.
Thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned that about vehicles because what I've noticed, what I see even now and what I've noticed in the past, a lot of these carriers, they're having a hard time with preventative and corrective actions on their vehicles. And they're getting a lot of dings on, having issues with their equipment. And so, it's really important, as you stated, to make sure that you are have good record bookkeeping habits, have somebody keeping the books right, and then also making sure that you keep your vehicles pre-tripped, pre and post trip. Make sure that joker is everything is together, equipment is together before you get in it and after you get out of it, because it's really important. So I'm glad you said that.
Reggie, we, now go ahead. You gonna say something?
No, I was going to say, that's something that we do religiously here at the company that I'm at. We do a pre-trip and a post-trip at the end of every day because, and the reason for the post-trip, I really didn't understand it at first when I first started doing it. Used to be I just go out there and kick the tires with my boot or a hammer, right? Make sure I can hear a thump. But those days are over. Those days are over, man. You got to put a gauge on that thing, make sure your tires are properly inflated, and it's not so, you know, it's legal ramifications for some of this stuff that you're doing. If you're in an accident, you don't even have to be the cause of the accident. But if a lawyer can find anything wrong with your vehicle from a safety perspective, he can
Mm,
nail the company, your company, or the company you're working for to the wall just
mm,
because you're out there with equipment that's not where tires is not properly inflated or hasn't been maintained properly or whatever the case may be.
Because
So we
we learn
pre and post. All right. Yeah. Go
right.
ahead.
We learn from the experience, right? From being on the road, and you hear all of these truck lawyers on the radio. Just got hit. Call me. You know what I mean? And the first thing they ask for when a trucker is hit from the back, the side, the front, or whatever. The first thing they ask for is, let me see his logs
Hmm.
and let me see his phone.
Yep.
Those are the first two things they ask for is the logs and the phone. So for me, when you say that, it it just brings back a whole lot because at the end of the day, if you got oil coming out of one of your axles on your trailer, if your thread is too low, on one of your tires. If you're, see, we getting a little bit of here. I'm giving a little bit of game that we teach, so I got to be careful. I got to be careful. So, this is what we teach, and so if I give it away on here all day long, but at the end of the day, like I said before, the purpose of this podcast was to inform and help. And help those who moving over from into new careers into trucking, or those new drivers who are on the road that didn't really have a mentor. They can use this podcast mentor because I will help somebody on the road like somebody helped me. So with that being said, we talked about a lot. We could have hung our heads on a lot that's been said and just sat here and talked about a lot of that, but we're trying to get a lot out of you in about 30, 40 minutes, really. We're trying to get something out of them.
Well,
So,
you mentioned something, James. If I can
mhm,
just pull in, you
no,
said they're gonna ask for your phone. Now, why do you think they're gonna ask for your phone?
because if
Ex-
anything, we're doing. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. I thought you was asking me a question.
Let
I
me
thought
ask
you
you.
was
Let me answer for. There are three
asking.
types of distractions that
Yeah.
drivers need to be wary of. That's
Mhm,
manual. That's taking your hands off the wheel, and visual. That's taking your eyes off the road, and
mhm,
right, and then cognizant, taking your mind off of what you're doing. Right. So the use of a cell phone is using all three of those distractions. You got
Mm,
cell phone in the hand, you got your eyes on the text, right? And your mind is on whatever the text is or who is ever on the phone. And so this is a distraction. Guess what? If man, and I don't know, this is such a huge problem in the driving and trucking industry right now. If you see some of the statistics that I see about how many people are killed on the road
mm,
from distracted driving, and you see, just like I see, every other car
mhm,
has somebody with a cell phone on it. They're bobbing and weaving down the road, and you got truckers who know better and are doing some of
mhm,
the same things. Buy you a
mhm.
headpiece, man. Buy you a headpiece and hit your little button. It don't make sense for a CDL packing driver pulling an 80,000 pound vehicle at 65, 70 miles an hour down the highway, looking at this here bobbing and weaving. I'm having to get on my horn so you can stay in your lane and out my lane. All right. So it's just something we got to be aware of. But if a lawyer can find out that you text or that you just had a
Oh,
phone call, oh, guess what? We
over.
just put you out of business.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. And that, man, that's really hard. I mean, that's hard. So, um, in your orientation, do you guys go ahead? Do you look for, or do they need to have like that special skill, such as knowledge of the PTO or knowledge of the rollout? Or is that one of the
No,
hiring
you don't need
mechanisms?
you don't really need that skill because once
Mhm,
you get out of my class, you also
mhm,
get behind what we call a behind the wheel instructor. And I do that as well, where you ride with me for 4 to 6 weeks or with another trainer, and
mhm.
they show you the ins and out of the equipment. So that's something you can learn on the fly with your 3 to 4 weeks of training that you take with us.
Yeah, that's good. That's good right there, Reggie. Okay, and I'm gonna ask you also, what are some of the things you see drivers neglect the most in your field? What do they neglect the most? When you get a driver
Yeah.
and they call you and say, "Hey, we need you to go out here. This driver just backed into a pole on a customer's property. We need you to go do an inspection." What are
It's
what
it's
are some of the most?
I mean, it
Go
all
ahead.
boils down to safety and the different aspects of safety, man. At some point, you didn't do something that was outlined in the safety protocols that caused you to have an accident. I don't care what you say. Some problems we cannot prevent, but if it's a backing accident, chances are it could have been prevented, right? Or you could have minimized the damage by backing slower, maybe getting someone to help you navigate a spotter or something, or just take your
Yeah.
time and really get a good understanding of the surroundings around your vehicle.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
We have a question coming in because we are live streaming through social media as well. And I have someone there asking, do you have any advice or any information in regards to a compliance checklist? Like, is there something that people can find that is public information on a standard compliance checklist?
As far as a roll-off vehicle, if you're asking, it's basically the same as a regular vehicle. Uh, they're looking for the same things, you know, tires, lights, windshield wipers, horn, city horn, fire extinguisher, reflective triangles, the weight limits on your vehicle. So it's basically the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, is we this was safety and compliance, but you hit us with a lot of roll off information. We probably going to call you back and dive deeper into the roll-off game so that we can get a little bit more knowledge out of you because we're really just talking about safety, but you're really hitting us with little nuggets from the roll-off side of the game too. So you might have to put in and schedule another interview with us. Because I love to have you. I love to talk. You know, we love to talk. I love to talk to you. We have many conversations, and this is just one aspect of it. And uh, plus, you're so entertaining. So, let me ask you this: with your drivers that you run through orientation, and I come in and I'm a driver, and I've just been hired by your company, and I come in and I say, Mr. Wyatt, uh, I just had so much going on at home today. Uh, I'm sorry for this and I'm sorry for that. This is the first day of class, right?
Uh-huh.
Then 4 or 5 days later, he has another excuse. Miss Reggie, oh man, uh, and he's kind of, he's kind of, you see, he's kind of, I'm kind of on the edge. Is what would be your response, or what would be your um, assessment of that gentleman coming through your orientation at that point?
Okay, so I mean, day one, you add one more work day to my schedule, so that means I got to spend another day with you for one. But I'm gonna be understanding. I'm gonna be understanding day one because life happens, right? Life comes upon all of us. But if it's something that kind of keeps on coming around, because of Mr. Joe Williams' hand to me, remember that guy, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Williams, because of his hand to me, I'm gonna pull you
Mm-hmm.
to the side and I'm gonna say, look here, man, look
Mm-hmm.
here, bro. Do you
Mm-hmm.
really want this job? Because
Mm-hmm.
the job ain't gonna be around if you keep this here up. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to work with you for a while, but if you
Right.
know, if my recommendation to them is this guy ready to be turned over to behind the wheel, I'm gonna say no. But I'm gonna talk to you and I'm gonna work with you to see if you can, get past this level. And but if it's something that reoccurs, guess what? I've seen it before. 9 times out of 10, the guy not gonna last. 9 times out
And
of
see,
10,
mm-hmm.
because he got too many distractions outside of the job, and that
and that
comes
and
with
that.
that comes with being able to compartmentalize what's going
Mm-hmm.
on in your life, right? Being able to put that on the side burner and focus on what I have to do on this particular day.
And that's what led me to asking you about that because as a student, I've been a student many a times before I even became a trainer, you know. And so I always tell people that, or drivers, that, hey man, when you jump in your truck to come to work, everything at home should be left there. Try at least. I know life happens. I know bills happen. I know a lot of people in trucking to pay bills, but try and put your mind on the task at hand and not
Right.
forget that you're sitting behind. For me, you sitting behind a missile because once you get that 80,000 pounds to moving, and I've ran nitrogen oxide, nitrogen liquid. I've ran argon. I've done chemicals
Mhm.
from here to Long Beach, and that's an 80,000 pound missile. And
Wow.
if you're not, you know, focused on what you're doing what you're in, how to maneuver it, how the stuff that you're carrying, how it moves and shifts. You know, from liquid all the way over the pipe. I've hauled pipe from, you know this, Reggie. I've hauled pipe from Houston all the way to Button Willow, California, and pipe shift.
Yes, sir.
So at the end of the day, if I'm on the phone arguing back and forth with my girlfriend, my wife, or whoever, if your at home personal life can't complement your work life in that truck, we got a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem. And if you have erratic behavior before I even put you behind the truck, we have a problem. Not saying that I'm going to cut you short, not saying I'm going to cut you short, but I value other people's lives just as much as I value yours.
Right.
And I had to understand that, Reggie. I had to understand that. I had to understand that a company has to take care of the public as well as take care of their drivers. Because at the end of the day, if they put a driver that got all the experience in the world behind a truck, but he's mentally unstable to be there, then that's a problem for the public. Somebody's husband, somebody's wife, somebody's child, or family could not be going home all because we decided we wanted your experience over understanding you had a mental issue. And that's what I'm getting to, is that part of it is, man, make sure that I always tell people, make sure that you're mentally ready to get behind the truck of an 18 wheeler. And that's why I respect those guys. I have guys at my job, they've been now 30 years with no accident, no wrecks, no tickets for 30 years. Do you know how hard that is to do? Do you know what an accomplishment that is? For me, my head goes down to them because 30 years with no accidents, that means that they were doing their job correctly. And which brings me to this is, and we were also talking, you know, coming off of the road and coming into the city, right? It was a transition. It was
It's
a
a different beast.
transition. It's a different beast. I would always be like, when I would apply for jobs because I wanted to get off the road, I'd be like, man, I got all these years over the road. Why y'all ain't helping me? Well, Mr. Robert, this is a city position and you don't have any city driving experience. What you mean? I got 8 years, da 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 da. But once I got that opportunity, man, driving in this city, it takes a whole nother skill set. Would you agree with me?
Absolutely, man. So, like, one of the first, the way I open my class up is I talk about driver psychology, and
Mhm.
you know the amount of stress that a driver can take in just driving in the city of Houston or in any major city, but the stress that other drivers cause, but also the stress that you put on yourself when you react to other drivers' bad or negative driving. You know, I used to be
Mhm.
so upset, man. When I first started drinking coffee and I got behind that truck and somebody cut me off, I'm starting. I'm starting to speak in tongues. It wasn't, it was an unknown tongue. It's out of you, and then I had I had to talk myself down, man. Like, what are you doing, dude? That driver's gone on down the road, and here you is. You still, you can feel the tension in your body, man, in your head and in your
Right.
body, and it brings on. It makes you more fatigued. So I try to teach drivers the difference between the average driver and the professional driver. Right, the professional driver
Right.
should already anticipate that. Guess what? There's going to be some bad drivers today, and so if I anticipate bad drivers when they act bad in front of me, guess what? I just say, hey, there you go, there goes another one, instead of reacting with all my mental and emotional energy and getting my stress levels up. Driving as stressful as it is, why add more to it and kill myself, put myself in an early grave, worrying about somebody else that I can't, have no control over.
Okay, right. Before we get to this last question, and I'm gonna wrap this thing up with you and let you go. You've poured into our podcast, into our listeners, man. You gave so much knowledge. Real quick, do you guys use any type of driving system in your training, like the
Driver
Smith
cams.
system?
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Smith system or something. Okay, the Smith system. So y'all use the goal, get out and look type of thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I would ask you a question about something that happened a couple of months ago, but we're gonna run over because we're gonna get to talking about we're gonna go deep into that. So I'm not even gonna ask you because it was involved in that look type of situation in my eyes. So would you please talk to the potential driver just getting into trucking or applying for a driver position with a top-notch company? Would you talk to them and give them some knowledge, some advice, and some wisdom on going into the interview and into the orientation? I think we gave them one big nugget, but give them something else.
Yeah. So first of all, what are you bringing to the table? You got to make yourself stand out. You got to be, more attractive than the next person. So I always say, whatever endorsement you can get it, add it to your life. Even if you have never did it, don't anticipate doing it. Don't worry about that right now. You want to make yourself look more attractive than the other guy, right? And I hear so many people saying, hey, man, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to get this endorsement. And then you wind up having to get it later, and it's much harder. Get it all out the way, bring it all to the table. Here, like in the city of Houston, of course, a TWIC card is definitely a must have. You will want to get that, right? You bring that to the table, you're making yourself look even better. And so the difference between a, a driver and a professional driver. Represent yourself in a professional manner, right? Believe that you got the job when you go in there. Sell yourself, right? Put your best self out there, right? You might not have all the experience, but guess what? When they see you, they say, this is somebody we can work with to get to that level. And so a hiring manager is going to be more adept to hire you, even though you may not have all of the necessary skill set involved with the work required. And so going in a professional manner, don't have, that means have yourself dressed right, be ready to sell yourself, look at a few videos on interviewing, so you can expect what questions they're going to ask you, because many of them just pull off from a list of questions and they just going to roll them right back to you. Be ready for it when they ask them. Study a few of those videos and be ready, and just sell yourself. That's the main thing, man. And don't be afraid to reach for some of the best jobs. Go for them. And so that's what I would say in closing, Mr. Roberts and Mrs. Roberts.
Good deal, good deal. Real quick, you want to go ahead? You got something? Okay, real quick, 5 or 10 minutes. I'm gonna see.
Okay.
You think you called in?
I don't think so.
You don't think nobody called in? Okay, so I want to thank you, and what I want to do right now. Give me about 2-3 minutes, Mr. Reggie.
Okay.
I want to thank Mr. Reggie Wyatt for coming on our podcast. I want to thank Mr. Reggie Wyatt for being a brother. I want to thank Mr. Reggie Wyatt for being a friend. I want to thank Mr. Reggie Wyatt for being a teacher, not only in this industry, but in life and in our spiritual realm. in our church. I want to thank you personally right now from me to you on this public platform for being who you are, for being the person God made you to be, for adhering to what God has shown you, for just pouring into those who allow you to pour into them. I want to thank you for teaching me a lot. And I want to give you your roses while you're here. Not when you're laying sideways or horizontal. I want to say thank you. And that's from the bottom of my heart. With everything in me, I want to say thank you because I've learned a lot from you. I've just sat back and I've seen how you move, and I respect you to the utmost. Without a doubt, people say love and loyalty, but for me, loyalty is above all. And bro, you got my loyalty because I respect you just that much. And I want to thank you for being who you are and always giving a good word. So salute to you, Mr. Reginald Wyatt.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Love you much, man. Appreciate both of you guys. Stay in your lane.
Yes, sir. And we will not venture into another's lane. Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
Before we let you go, we normally do a health tip as well as a plug. So I want to plug now before you go because there's two businesses here in the Houston area, and one is in the Beaumont area that I definitely want to just plug these people. They are Lado Sweets. It is a home-based business that specializes in sweets, and they have the best chocolate chip cookies with pecans that I've ever tasted in my life. Like the lady makes these $1,000,000 cookies. And so I just wanted to plug her because I'm really, really big on exceptional customer service. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, and that's one of the things that I get rave reviews. I have over 15,000 followers collectively over my social media platform, and not one person or one client that I've ever worked with can say anything other than we exceed their expectation. And so I had to plug this young lady, the owner of Lado Sweets, for having the best customer service ever, and then having an amazing, yes, let's give it up for Lado, and the most amazing cookies and sweets ever. And then the second company, it's a new company, and they are based out of Beaumont, Texas, but they do travel to the Houston area. Man, they have some turkey legs that's stuffed with shrimp fettuccine and dirty rice and jambalaya. Woo! Yes, God. Oh, thank you, God. I had to plug them. They'll be here this Saturday after Christmas. I call them smoked turkey legs. Punchy smoked turkey legs. And his wife, Miss Valente Williams, VALENTE Williams on Facebook. They are taking orders. I had to plug these two small, and they're Black-owned businesses at that. I had to plug them on tonight because they just exceed your expectation. The food is amazing. The sweets are delicious, and I definitely want to plug that before we go into our health tip for the night, because none of that is healthy.
So, Mr. Reggie, once again, I want to thank you for being with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed it, man.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
All right, take care.
Peace. All right, good night. Thank you, bro.
Awesome.
Awesome, man. We had a good time with Mr. Reggie. We had a good time with Mr. Reggie. So I want to thank Mr. Reggie for being on the Freight TrapN podcast with me and the Queen of Dispatch. Babe, you want to do the health tip for the week?
All right, let you go ahead and get that.
Okay. my health tip for the week is stay safe, eat safe, be aware of what you're putting in your body. Um, I just recently bought a Power XL juicer because I was doing all of my juicing um, in a Ninja, and so I would buy fresh fruit, and but in the Ninja, you still got the pulp. So what I would have to do is I would have to take everything I did in the Ninja, put it in a strainer, and then strain it because I don't like drinking the pulp. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, I'm tired of doing this. So I went over to doing, just buying frozen fruit and just putting them in there, doing my juicing like that. Well, I had seen an advertisement, and my wife get on me about this all the time because uh, I buy stuff because I want to make it convenient for me, and she just like, why did you buy that? I'm like, because I want to see how it works. So I bought a Power XL. I bought a juicer. I'm not gonna tell you the brand because they're not paying us. So I bought a juicer, which in turn it makes I can put just all of the spinach, the kale, the beet. Oh my God. I did a beet the other day with it, and man, I love it. So I just put all of that in there and let it juice it down, juice it down, juice it down. And it tastes much better. And I could feel, and I messed around and I did something that I told you the other day I messed around and put a whole ginger root in my beet juice. And you know how the taste of ginger is just so, how you say the word, pungent?
Potent.
No, pungent.
It was potent.
Potent.
Very strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Potent. Thank you. It was so potent that I was trying to cut it, but I won't do that again. But anyway, get you a juicer. Get your juicer. Buy fresh vegetables. Put them in there and juice them. That's the best way you're going to get every vitamin out of your vegetables. Juice them. Juice them, juice them, juice them. And so that's the little health tip that I had for.
Let me add mine. I think I'm gonna go ahead and add a health tip because. So let me add my health tip. We're getting ready to close out 2020, and I'm praying and believing that God is going to allow each and every one of you that is watching this, that was on here, that is on Instagram Live, that's going to go back and replay this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying and believing He's going to get us all through the end of this year so we can celebrate 2021. And as we get ready to go into 2021,
Mm-hmm.
please schedule your yearly physicals.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stress that enough, not just with us as women, but the men. We need to get our yearly physicals. We need full blood workup, full blood panels, full blood workups, because I'm 41 years old and my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 45. It doesn't matter how good you look on the inside if you're not taking care of what's going on the inside. Don't matter how you look on the outside if you're not taking care of the inside. So that's my health tip for the week. Schedule your yearly physicals. If you're 40 and over, get your colonoscopies, get your mammograms, get your prostate check, men. It's really important We've been through a lot this year in 2020. I am a survivor of COVID-19. I'm extremely grateful to be sitting here on today. It took me down, but no one knew it. I was pushing and pressing my way through, and I trust and believe God, and I thank God I'm a healthy woman, that my body was strong enough to fight it off and to overcome COVID-19.
Amen.
But it's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't wait to go to my primary care, walking into 2020, getting a full blood workup and a full exam, because I still don't know, if anything's wrong with me after post COVID-19. I feel fine. I look fine. Hey.
God says you're
I look
fine.
Good. Thank you, God.
God says you're fine.
But I'm just saying, in all seriousness, take care of yourself. Yes, take care of yourselves. Get your yearly checkups. And that's what I want to share with you guys on tonight.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Make sure you take care of yourself, because we, as black men, I can speak for black men. I can speak for some of the black men that I know, not all black men, but our grandparents, our uncles, some of our older uncles, they still got the mentality of, what you don't know don't hurt you, but you do need to know. And I'm old school. I mean, I grew up with my uncles. I grew up with my cousins. They were taught by their dads. I didn't have my dad, but I was taught by them. Work with your hands, touch everything with your hands, do everything yourself, be self-sufficient if you can, where you can. So that's just how I was raised. That's who I seen working. And so by me not having a dad, that's what I knew. And it carried over into, my adulthood, where, what you don't know won't hurt you. Well, sometimes what you don't know will kill you. So you have to go get checked up. You have to go get that checkup. You have to go get that blood work. You have to go get it done. So let's get it done, men, because we need to be here, for me, another 40 years. You know what I mean? I'm about to be 50, but for me, another 40 years, I need to be here, or even longer. Sometimes you look at the world and you say, why? Because so much is going on there. You make you think that, they have something, against us. And when I say us, I mean the American people. So, just keep living. And I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I had seen somebody posted something on Twitter, and they said a teacher filled a hallway had his class to blow up balloons and write their names on the balloons. So he had all of them just to throw the balloons in the hallway. Throw all of them in the hallway. I'm talking about this. It's about 600 balloons in the hallway. So he told them, you have 5 minutes to find your own balloon, and there's a reward. Well, after 5 minutes, or even after 6 minutes, nobody found their own balloon. Nobody found their own balloon. So the teacher asked him, hey, did anybody find their own balloon? He said no. So then he said, go out and pick up a balloon and give it to the person whose name on the balloon. You have 5 minutes to do that. Before the 5 minutes was up, everybody had their own balloon. And he said, you see, sometimes you have to sacrifice finding your happiness in order to help somebody else find theirs. So that's my inspiration for this week. Help somebody find their happiness, and then you'll find yours. This has been the Freight TrapN Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. James Roberts.
And your co-host, Tawana Roberts.
And we'll see you next week. Peace! Holla, holla, holla.